Hello and welcome back to the Coder's Legacy channel. In today's video, we'll explore how to deploy a Node.js application to your AWS Windows EC2 instance. This is going to be a pretty interesting video and a bit lengthy, so let's get right into it. To ensure that the maximum number of people can follow along, I'm going to start from the very beginning, from creating a VPC to creating our EC2 instance, to connecting to our EC2 instance, then deploying our Node.js application, and then testing our Node.js server. Okay, so we're going to start from creating a VPC. We'll just use the wizard so that we can create it quickly. What we really just need is a public subnet, all right? A subnet that we'll do create VPC here. So we need a subnet that can access the internet basically, because we'll be connecting our EC2 instance to that subnet. All right, we'll do tutorial. We'll just call it tutorial. Leave everything else at the defaults. Okay, we need these two public subnets. All right, we won't really be needing private subnets, but just leave that at 2 at the default settings. All right, everything looks good. We'll just click create VPC now, and it should take about 10 seconds or so. Now our VPC is created, so we'll go on view VPC. Also, we don't really need to view anything over here, really. Let's just quickly go through it. So we have like 4 subnets that have been created, all right? Public, 2 public and 2 private. We have a route table, okay? The public route table over here that you see with these 2 public subnets. Let me just quickly show you the route table, because for those of you who have an existing VPC and existing subnets, so what you guys just need to make sure is, let me just refresh this, okay? And here we are. So I'm just going to click on this route table which we just created. So what you need to have is this, okay? You need to be connected to the internet gateway, all right? And you need to have these 2 subnet associations, or just one is fine, okay? One public subnet that is connected to, that is associated with a route table that is connected to the internet, okay? You can add this by doing edit routes and just come here and, create this rule, all right? You need to create an internet gateway as well if you don't have one, which you can create from here, internet gateways, okay? Just follow along, it's pretty simple. All right, so that's the background. Now what we'll do is go create an EC2 instance. We'll switch over to EC2. Okay, so what we're going to do is create an instance. All right, go in instances, and that was the one I was experimenting on. I terminated it. So what we'll do is launch a new instance, launch instances. Then here we'll do tutorial. All right, and here we select the image. Okay, basically like a template. Basically, it's an easy way of quickly setting up our instance. So it has a bunch of predefined settings like storage, etc., and what OS it is. So there's Linux and Windows. These are the 2 main ones. We'll be doing Windows. Okay, but if any of you are interested in Linux, I'll make a separate video on that later. Now we just leave everything at the default settings because those are just fine. We're using the free tier. Otherwise, if you are doing paid, you can go for a more expensive option if you want to. Then we need to do a key pair login. Okay, we need to generate a new key pair, or you can use the existing one if you already have it. So we'll just create a new key pair. We'll use this to log in to our system, to RDP into it. Once the instance is created, we'll create the key pair, and then I'll save it in this AWS folder of mine. Okay, save these keys. Then we just continue, and in network settings, we're going to select the VPC that we just created. Okay, it's on the default VPC right now. That's always created with any AWS account. So we'll switch it over to the tutorial VPC and make sure that it's selected to one of the public subnets. Okay, public. Then auto assign, we need to enable this, enable the public IP so that we can access it. Otherwise, if it's a private only, then it'll only be accessible within AWS or by other AWS services. So we want to be able to access this server across the internet, so it needs a public IP. Then what we'll do is just let a default security group be created. Well, not a default one, we'll just create one on the spot, is what I mean. Or you can select an existing one if you want to. Actually, I did make one, or actually it's not here, I guess, not with this VPC. Okay, so what you just need to do is create this security group, and RDP is what we need to connect to it, but we'll also need to, well, we'll just leave this for now. Actually, I'll make this change later, but basically we're gonna add a custom TCP connection later. Okay, but I'll just leave this for now, and we'll make that change later. So everything else is the default settings, perfectly fine. We'll launch our instance now. This will take a short period of time, and the instance also needs some time. Like, this does launch the instance, it's created, but it's going to take some time for the instance to actually, enter the running state. So I'm going to fast forward this video. We are finally done with all of our setup, and now we can begin connecting to our EC2 instance, okay, which is the first step in actually deploying our Node.js application. So we're going to do connect. Click on connect over here if you didn't see that. All right, click on connect. Then we'll click on RDP client. This is Windows, so we'll RDP into it. And what we're going to do is download this file, RDP file, okay? And then we need to get the password, because if I run this, if I click on this, it gives me this. I need the credentials. So let me get the password. Okay, get password. Down here, by the way, just see, down here, get password. And then upload the private key file that we downloaded earlier, the new key pair that we generated. Alright, do this, click decrypt password, it'll give you this password, okay? And keep that hidden, obviously, but I'm just going to delete this instance so it'll be safe for me, but make sure you keep this safe, otherwise anyone can just access your instance. Alright, so I'm just going to create this, enter it, and then log in. Now I can access my EC2 instance. It'll show up right now, the RDP session. Alright, so I skipped ahead because it was taking a little bit of time. Now what we're going to do, or what we need to do basically, is set up Node. We need to set up Node and any other things that you might need. For example, you might want to set up Chrome because that's more familiar to you. You may also want to set up Git because Git is, used to like clone your repository. You may want to clone your Node.js backend if you have a lot of code files, which is normally going to be the case. So you may want to do that. But I'm just going to use a very small script, so we'll just copy paste it in here. But Git is what you would normally install, and because this is Windows, you need to actually just search everything up from Internet Explorer and download them from the website. So we'll just search for Node.js. Okay, let's go on the download page. We'll download the latest version. Alright, so our file's downloaded pretty quickly. So we'll open this up, or more like execute it. So it's going to install Node. Then we can use it from the command line. Alright, and while this installs, we can just go and set up our code. Alright, so I'm just going to set up a new folder over here. Okay, well, let's go through this first. Alright, so that's going to be done. In the meantime, we'll just set up a new folder, call it tutorial, and inside here we're going to create our Node.js file. Okay, so one thing I like to do on Windows, which I find pretty useful, is to enable file name extensions. Okay, so this allows me to create a Node.js file by doing server.js. Otherwise, it's going to create a text file. Alright, so just do this. It will create a server.js file, and in here we're going to paste our code. There we go. Okay, so it's using Express. Also, you can use whichever way you want to create a server. You can use HTTP lib, you can use Express, you can use whatever you want to, okay? But Express is pretty popular, so that's what I'm using. Alright, so here we go. Here's our code. We're using Express to set up a basic application where we have these list of quotes, and then we show to the user a random quote whenever he visits the /random quote URL. Alright, the path. So now what we're going to do is save this. Then we'll see that our installation is completed. Alright, great. Now what we're going to do is quickly create a terminal, a command prompt. And from here we can enable it, okay, using Node. We can use Node. We can just test out that it's installed using Node v. Alright, so it's a small v. Okay, version 20. Now we know it's installed properly, and we can do Node server we need to first get into the right folder, desktop. Then we need to do tutorial. All right, and good. So we can just do node server.js, but it's not going to work right now. I mean, it will work, but it won't work when we try to access it, because there are one or two things that we need to take care of. So what we're going to do now is just minimize this, and we'll go back to our Amazon dashboard, and here we're going to go and find the security groups. Okay, in EC2, we're still on EC2 here, the EC2 service. So click on security groups over here, and now we need to find the security group that was created. Okay, this is launch wizard 4. Click on the security group to edit it. Okay, we need to edit the rules, because right now we're not permitted to access it. Right now only an RDP connection is allowed, not a custom connection. Because if you notice, if you go back here quickly, the file that we created, the port that we're using is the port 3000. Okay, so we need to permit us to be able to access it on port 3000. Okay, we'll just allow anyone to access it, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Custom TCP 3000, source anywhere. All right, cool. So now we do save rules, and we're almost done, but there is one more thing we need to do. Alright, so what we actually need to do is disable the Windows firewall, because the Windows by default enables the firewall, which basically prevents anyone from outside the private network from accessing it. So what we need to do is disable that firewall. If you did this on Linux, you wouldn't have this issue, but Windows is Windows. So go on private network over here and disable Windows Defender firewall. Alright, this may be a bit different if you're on Windows 11 or Windows 10, but the basic gist of it is just you need to turn off the firewall. Alright, so just do that, and now we can go ahead and begin testing. I'm going to do node server.js now. Okay, and I get an error, and rightfully so, because I forgot to run npm run npm install express. Okay, so we'll just do this. It's going to install express and install or create the node modules folder, and then the package block package JSON. I totally forgot to do that, so it's just going to create those files. Okay, we're done. So now we can do node server JS, and now it's running. Alright, great. So what we can do is first test it out locally. Okay, we can go on Internet Explorer, and then we can go create a new tab, do localhost, because we can access it locally from here, right? Then we can do 3000, port 3000. Alright, then do the path that we defined, random quote. Okay, hit enter, and hopefully this should work. Alright, there we go. There's our random quote. Okay, we can just refresh this and we'll see a different one. Alright, let's do that again. Alright. Okay, cool. So this is clearly working. There's no problem here. It's loading pretty quickly as well. Right, so now we've tested it locally. It's working on this machine. So now we'll test it on our machine, like not the EC2 instance, like my actual machine over here. So to do that, take the public address, the DNS IP. So just take this, copy this, open a new tab, and then paste this over here. Okay, and make sure you specify the port and the path that we defined, random quote. Okay, and there we go. There's our random quote. Okay, and just refresh and it's going to change. Alright, cool, right? What we can also do is access it from here, from our code over here. It's clear. So we have our URL over here. Okay, then you can just use Axios or any other thing really. There are many ways of doing this. You can just query it, do a GET request, we'll get the response. Then data is where everything is contained. Then dot quote we can do to access this right here. Okay, the quote property, and then we print it out. Okay, there we go. See, let's do that again. Alright, another one. With this we'll end the video. Just one or two things I should mention. Now we can go ahead and actually close this. We can go ahead and close our RDP connection right here. And if we close this, it doesn't mean that the machine itself is going to stop. Okay, everything here is going to continue working just like it always has been. I'll just go ahead and close this now. Okay, it's closed. And if I go here and if I refresh this, you can see it's still working. And if you reconnect, you're going to find that you'll reconnect to the exact same scenario. Okay, everything will open up the way it was. The open tabs that you had, they'll still be there. Everything will still be there just like it was when you left it. Alright, so I hope you guys found this video interesting, informative, and useful. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. See you later.